Also, I've seen some discussion and been a part of some discussion about his preview card, and I actually, it's like with, in my opinion, I'm not going to go too far into it because we can save that for the juicy parts. But
juicy bits.
I like the direction of their what is it called? Overwhelm? Or...
the not dominate.
Yeah. I saw some people saying like overpower. Yeah. I saw some people saying like, oh well, it's like just worse than dominate, and it's like, okay, but that isn't a bad thing though. Like, dominate to me is like kind of overtuned, where if it's on like an even remotely good card, it feels too strong. Like with Starvo's whole ability being to basically give any card dominate and then also go again, like it was just all egregious. But to me,
and plus
the
2.
dominate portion was like the really rough part.
Yeah. Well, the go again was also pretty rough. The Starvo was pretty broken.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, it's the fact that it was all put together is the really rough part. But yeah, like I don't know, any dominate on any remotely playable card feels pretty bad to come up against, but if it's on a bad card, then it's just like, okay, this is just like a tough thing to block. But like
just
this
damage
overpower, but this overpower, you can put it on better cards and it doesn't feel as oppressive, but it is still like a factor. This could be something that you could put as a, you know, it could be on a repeatable effect, and I think not feel horrendous.
I like having a lot of like these in-between mechanics. So a mechanic that's in between nothing and dominate, like you were saying. I think it's a great design space for the exact reasons you were saying.
And it's like it's my feelings with Quell, where it's like, you know, Quell it's not necessarily as good as physical blocking, but it is an option and it is like flexible. I think that it could be put on more things and not feel as bad. Like if there was, you know, a spring tunic that also had Quell, it would be, I think, just like, would it be better than just spring tunic? Because then you can block with it in a single turn, and then I don't know, you could. It might be better because then you could technically remove the counter to also pay into something. Yeah, so then it's baseline a tunic and then plus.
You could use its own counters to Quell itself. To pay for one of the
absolute worst case scenario, yes.
Yeah. So, but it's like, I don't know. It doesn't immediately strike me as being like more broken or more busted. Like I think it's stronger, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we should save some of this discussion.
Well, I am recording, so this could be the cold opening. We could just jump right in from now if you guys want to
just start from Tall Timmy's preview card. Great, by the way, great spoiler.
Actually, I stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch that. Not exclusively. I was working on a video and I finished the video late, and I was like, I could just stay for another couple hours and watch the thing. And so
content creator life, eh?
Well, there's that, and then also like my partner Robin, she opened, so she was gonna wake up pretty early, and there's like a threshold where if I go to bed at a certain part, it's gonna wake her up and she's gonna get angry. But if I wait so long that she's gonna get up like right as I go to bed, it doesn't matter. So there's also that as well.
That's like exactly what I did when I was a teenager, and I played Diablo 3 until like 5, or Diablo 2 until like 5:30 in the morning, and I went to bed because I could hear my parents' alarm going off.
Yeah. Yep.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, that's a thing.
That's funny.
How's it going, everyone? Well, welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
Yeah, we'll just roll into it, right?
Yeah. We've had some good discussion already, so might as well just keep going with that. Anyway, welcome to another episode. I am your host today. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders, and joining me today, as always, we have my good friends and yours, Az from Go Again Gaming.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. Gonna be a good one.
As well as Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. That conversation you heard at the start is literally the conversation that we have before we start every single one of these. So that's kind of like a glimpse into like a behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, we
just learned to record them early and just roll with it. Just let it come naturally to the listeners.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, like for you guys, when it's your turn to host, like when Az decides to host or when it's his turn, he always comes up with this like full Word document of like things to do, talking points, images for all the stuff he wants to refer to. It's very like precise, very well done. It's like a school assignment. And then for Kel, it's like kind of the same thing. It's less like official. It's not like a Word document, but you usually put a couple things together.
I have a document.
I like kind of wait for you guys to talk about stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about.
That's where we'll start. Yeah. I love how we're all different though. We all do things differently. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a regional thing, right? That's all it is.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, so some of the talking points that I've assembled just myself, nobody else helped me, for today. We are going to be talking about some interesting things. Notably, we've seen our first preview card for Dynasty. Not myself or Kel or Az individually, but as a community, we've seen the first preview card from Tall Timmy. And I have some thoughts, which I mean we probably have kept in for the intro, so you can hear some of that. But
speaking of which, I'm gonna keep an eye on my Twitter because I know Flake will be previewing something today as well. So if he previews it in the next hour and a half while we're talking about this, we will talk about it live. Well, live for us, not live for you. So
By the time this comes out, there'll be loads of people would have stewed on it already, I guess, wouldn't they? So we're not spoiling anything or treading on his toes, I guess, will we, because it comes out later in the future. But yeah, that's a time zone sort of situation going on there. But yeah, if it comes up, then we'll speak about it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up my Twitter and keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was today, but that's sweet. Anyway, I'm excited to hear about that. We are also going to be talking about there was a banned and restricted announcement that people are pretty unhappy about. I think
I overall really like it, but maybe it's just because I don't like dying to Kano on a turn that I have lethal.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't know if that makes me salty or not, but a lot of my there's a local player who only plays Kano, and he's done it to great success. But honestly, I'm tired of getting killed by forked lightning into blazing ether.
It's Aether Wildfire, forked lightning, blazing ether. You're dead.
Yeah. Ether Wildfire is kind of a crazy card.
I don't think one of those things you have to stop, don't you? You have to stop it. You have to hold back the. Does it do 4? Or is it 5 damage? I can't remember. Depends on the color. 4. Yeah, so you always have to have 4 available, otherwise you're dead that turn. If you don't do anything about it.
It's like at least 4, because otherwise it compounds. Or if you spend all of your resources up front to try to do this, and then they just have a regular combo turn after that, you're already out of resources. It feels, I don't know. To me, it feels bad. Again, that's probably salt. You can call me out for that in the comments.
It's like 2 turns in one almost.
For me, it's less salt and more. It feels like the way it just feels. It feels like losing to a high roll. Like Greiner or KO, right? So it's just well, guess I'm dead. It's just, that's the same feeling. It's I guess I'm just dead, right? My last turn was great. I did a lot of good setup. Everything's going well. I have good tempo, and I'm dead.
I'm dead. Yeah.
That's one of the things to me that I mean, I don't think it's necessarily Kano's fault or just Wizard as a whole. I think it's just and I've talked about this before. This is one of my I wouldn't even call it a gripe. I don't think it's that severe of a negative thing to say about Flesh and Blood in general, but I just think they're currently exploring design space for defensive options, and I really appreciate that. But that also does come with the admission, the conceit that the defensive options currently aren't actually all that great when it comes to flexibility. Because you can either have as an example, Breakforge Bracers, where it blocks for 3 and it has a meager effect that is cool. They've taken away the ability for cards that do that to stick around in the game by introducing Temper instead of Battle Worn. So it's okay, you can block for 3 with this, but then you lose its effect for the rest of the game. And it's okay, that's fine too. But then you look at like arcane blocking, and it's like, okay, so instead of having this card that has like a meager effect and blocks for 3 total, you have the ability to swap that out for a card that does literally nothing except for give you the ability to pay a resource to block 1 point of damage from an arcane source. You can do that as many times as you want, but it doesn't have any other effect. And there are a lot of instances of that. And I think it's just the game is still evolving. Like I was saying in the intro, maybe it was slightly before we have actual recordable things to say at that point. But I really like Quell. I don't necessarily think that Quell is the most impactful option, but it is iterating in a design space that makes a lot of sense, and I think makes the game just more fleshed out as a whole. So I think as the game evolves, that will become more prevalent, that there will be more, options for you to pick and pull together in your sideboard. But for right now, like losing against a wizard, all you can do is just be like, hey, I'm running 4 null runes. And I'm just going to see if I can pitch my entire hand to make sure you don't kill me.
Yeah.
So
I think it's good that they're doing that now, because I have a feeling that, and this is not any like insider information, like I haven't seen my spoiler card or anything, but I have a feeling that in the future we'll see a lot more arcane damage dealing classes, not just like wizard and runeblade. We'll see like maybe necromancer, maybe cleric, maybe whatever will have arcane damage, and I think having multiple ways to deal with it is going to be really good. We have a couple, like we have Spell Void, right? But Spell Void's kind of like a one-shot kind of deal. Arcane damage is a tricky thing, because if you don't have repeatable ways to deal with it, it's like free damage, because unlike normal or physical damage, like any card in your hand can't really deal with it unless you have Arcane Barrier.
Yeah.
So it kind of like skirts one of the fundamental rules of Flesh and Blood, and that's like a card in your hand has like basically 3 different modes. You can use it for resources, you can use it for its effect, or you can use it to block. And arcane damage gets rid of one of those modes unless you have Arcane Barrier. So
yeah, it's like you look at a card, the way that it's designed and laid out, it does 3 fundamental things and is supposed to do like the 3 fundamental things of Flesh and Blood, but then there's Arcane Barrier, which is just this 4th thing.
Yeah, like it turns one of the modes into, like, so it turns your resources into defense. But it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it going forward too.
I think Quell set a precedent though, like with regards to I think there will be different forms of damage coming out in the future, like maybe poison damage or like necrotic damage, or that radiant damage like we see in D&D and all that sort of stuff. Maybe there are different types of damage coming, which is what Quell will sort of set the bar, or the sort of idea towards preventing any type of damage to maybe future proof that.
Yeah, it's like we're seeing that a little bit more often too. Like we said, Quell, but also stuff like Oasis Respite, cards like that. Which are it
just prevents any damage, which is fantastic. And Ward. We only saw 1 instance of Ward in this set, I think. Maybe actually 2, because there's the item, the generic item that I think has Ward.
Sigil
and
of
then
Protection.
There's Sandcover.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a Sigil of Protection. And then Sandcover. And like, honestly, outside of needing the Ash in play, which I've seen from people playing Dromai, can actually be kind of a tough ask, depending on how your hand is going, how your draw is. I think that red Sandcover is like potentially a very powerful defensive option, because it gets rid of a resource that is like technically useful later on, but at the present time, like, isn't actually all that useful. And allows you to choose for it to be a sink below at any point during a combat chain. I think that's really cool.
Also, you can yell "Pocket Sand" while you do it,
which is arguably the most powerful part of the cards.
Pocket Sand.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But anyway, something that we should also do when talking about the banned and suspended announcement is just discuss all of the changes. I think, because I don't know. I have some interesting thoughts about a couple of them. So
yeah, definitely.
That was the Stormstriders one is just in Blitz. In CC, Stormstriders is still active, but it does kind of kill blitz Kano until further notice, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are like, I don't. Okay, so I guess I should preface this with my full thoughts. Whenever something prolific like this gets banned, it's always like a lot of folks tout it as like the end of the world, right? Like the sky is falling, it's the end of the world. It is in terms of how Kano is currently played, but I think Kano's toolkit is still good enough to kick around, but not in the same form. I don't know. Instead of killing on your opponent's turn, maybe you run Time Skippers or Mage Master Boots, and you can do multiple things on your turn instead. It makes it less of a surprise and then less of a gotcha, and more of a thing that your opponent can actually interact with. So I don't know if its rumors of its demise are true, but maybe it is. I don't know how much of it is salt and how much of it is like actual fact. Basically, is what I'm.
I tend to agree. Just as a quick interjection, because I think Az might have something to say about this too. But it seems like LSS is going towards that anyway. With I forget what the name of that new preview card, the Aura for Wizards, that is more of a setup for your turn instead of playing on somebody else's turn. I think that maybe this is just them trying to, like, the best equivalent that I can think of off the top of my head is like in Magic when they banned Birthing Pod in Modern, because then it felt like they were limiting the design space of specific cards in your deck, because it's like, oh, well, you can get them out too easily with this. This is too efficient of an engine for these to even exist within the deck because it's too easy to utilize them in a way that they weren't supposed to. So I think that maybe this is actually them trying to be like, hey, we want to print more impactful cards for Wizard, but Stormstriders is too scary. Like Stormstriders is too good of a card.
Yeah. The card you're talking about, by the way, just so everyone knows, is Blessing of Aether. Yeah, it's the one that is alongside Yoji as like the promo card for the Armory kits.
Yeah, and that's literally that's what I was going to say, was the fact that they've printed that card means that they potentially have seen a different direction for Wizard, or the cards that are coming in Dynasty as more of this build up on your own turn and maybe unleash this torrent. But with Stormstriders, with that coming, in that hindsight that they know it's coming, they're just like, right, we can't really leave this in Blitz, at least, because there's something's going to be too explosive in that format. In CC, it's still okay because you might still be able to deal with it in that regard, or but in Blitz, it's just too explosive. That's what I imagine is going to happen.
Yeah, it's just too impactful, too efficient of a card, because playing something at instant speed, that's like the whole conceit of Wizard, is that they have all these powerful non-attack actions that none of them have go again.
That's right.
Like, you have your one action point. Sometimes you can chain things together, like with Stir the Ether Winds or whatever. But a lot of the time it's, you're trying to get something together. You're playing things as instants, like they are instants, or you're playing them at instant speed. And being able to apply that to literally anything is just like, I think they've determined that it's maybe just a little bit too good.
Yeah, and we all know that Blitz is a bit of a race. Your life total's a lot less as well. And when you're getting to that point in the game when you're trying to kill them on your kill turn, they're just like, nah, Stormstriders, see you later, you're dead.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's hard to win that race when they're always one step ahead. But.
Yeah, exactly. The one step ahead is kind of what I was going to say. It's basically an extra turn, right? Because they have their normal turn, and then they draw up, and then they can, if they choose to, have an extra turn on your opponent's turn doing stuff at instant speed. And I think that's what they specifically said in the ban announcement, is that it helps prevent or gets rid of this extra turn kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, direct quote, it often provides Wizards the equivalent of an entire extra turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a really succinct way of putting that.
And to cut some of the straw man arguments, I own a cold foil Stormstriders. It's the only version of Stormstriders I own.
It's single sleeved. I've seen it.
It's single sleeved in my Icelander deck, actually. Because I got it when I started playing. It was like $70 or something at the time, which was still kind of crazy to spend on a card in a brand new game. But anyway. So it's not like I'm like, I don't own any Storm Striders, and I don't play Wizard or anything. I like Icelander quite a bit, actually. But I get it for all the people who are like sad about it. Like, I understand, right? Kano's not necessarily the top tier deck, right? He's not the S tier deck. He's good, can be very strong. It feels very coin flippy. Kano felt very coin flippy without actually using coin flip mechanics. It felt very coin flippy whether they win or not. At the team calling event in Las Vegas, where I played with DR Mamata and Jim from FAB TCG Cards on a team, I played against Kano twice and I lost both games. And the first one, round one, the Kano player killed me on turn one. So. Oh
wow! Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That happened.
It doesn't feel phenomenal.
Yeah, it turns out hitting multiple tomes and
very nice.
multiple sources of increased damage. Yeah, not great.
Wow, that's crazy.
But at
never died on turn one.
Yeah, literally turn one. Yeah, I helped him count all the things. It felt like for folks out there listening who are very familiar with like high level Magic or tournament Magic, I used to play it a lot. It felt like Storm, right? So it's like, okay, let me put all my stuff down. I'll help you count. Come on, let's see if you kill me.
Let's go. Yeah, let's turn into a co-op game. PVE. Here we go. PVE.
Yeah, you put down your hand and you have the D20 and you're like, okay, 1, 2.
Yep. Exactly. He was a really nice player, by the way. So if you're listening, shout out to him. It was cool. Like I was excited for him, even though I'm the one who died. But
I mean, it is cool to see these things come together too. Like I remember seeing
massive stack of cards. Yeah.
I remember seeing somebody. It was in a CC event, and I'm pretty sure it was a Kano that killed somebody on turn 1, because it was just like a totally improbable stack of cards on top of their deck, and they were able to do like 50 or 60 damage on turn 1 because they just kept chaining things down and down and down. And it's like, the likelihood of this happening is in the like thousandths of a percent. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's like, it's just cool to see sometimes because it never happens.
Must have drew all of their Tome of Aether Winds and drew all of their cards and all this sort of cascading nonsense.
When I saw this announcement and I saw all the people who are like super sad about it, I kind of sort of selfishly thought to myself, hey, I won't ever have to experience this because all my favorite heroes aren't good enough to get cards banned.
Such a great feeling. Yeah.
Like, they're not banning anything from Azalea or Lexi or even Dromai anytime soon. So,
I made a little graphic on Twitter saying, "Oh, that's cute. You lost a card with a little picture of Azalea. Way,
yeah.
Off better decks for the win."
Yeah,
but yeah, in the same vein, talking about cards that are too efficient because your life total in Blitz is too low. One of the other cards that was banned, Storm Stardust was just suspended, so there's a possibility of it coming off. But another card that was banned in Blitz, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx.
Yeah. This is another one where I feel like I feel bad for some players. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I definitely feel bad for some people that were playing, but also at the same time, like I liked Mask of the Pouncing Lynx in Benji, and I'm pretty sure it's like pretty solidly a Benji card. But then Fi all of a sudden is just like, oh, by the way, I have Lava Burst and it does 5 damage, or like I can get Salt the Wound and it's for 11.
Pardon me. Yes, yeah, that's exactly. It feels like Benji's like a what do you call it? Like a side casualty. There's a word for that.
Yeah.
I forget what the word is.
Collateral damage.
Exactly.
Collateral
That's
damage.
Exactly.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
Yeah, Benji is like huge collateral damage. So I feel actually really bad for all of the Benji players who are like, I play Benji. Sometimes I win, and sometimes I just get absolutely dunked on. And then Fi's like, I'm already really good. Let's get even better, and also just push Benji out of the way. Yeah. So,
what would we feel for people out there, and obviously us recording this? What would we feel for banned in Fi or banned in Viserai or something like that? Would that be too?
I think mechanically is fine, but it's complicated for new players, and people who don't keep up with this kind of stuff. And they're like, if you have it happen multiple times, it'll be really hard to track, like, oh, is this card banned in Benji or Ira, or is it all of the ninjas, or like that kind of thing?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like, well, it's like I keep relating things back to Magic, but it just topics keep bringing these things to mind. It's
yeah,
like
it all comes together, doesn't it?
Yeah. In Commander years and years and years ago.
Oh, I remember. Yeah,
I'm a Commander boomer.
Me too.
There used to be two ban lists. There was a regular ban list, and there was a banned as Commander ban list.
Yeah.
So, for example, you couldn't play.
So my favorite one was Kakusho, the Falling Star, because or the Evening Star.
The Evening Star. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite cards just in general. And it's like, yeah, you can't play him as Commander or whatever.
Yeah, because it was too consistent with like reanimation effects. His effect is when he dies, he drains each opponent for 5.
He drains everyone for 5, and so you gain like 15 life, and it's great.
Yeah, and then you were able to just like recur that. But if he's in your deck, then it's like fine. And they ended up getting rid of this separate ban list. And their argument for it, their reasoning was that it was like too complicated to keep track of 2 ban lists, which I don't think is necessarily accurate. But I do think that having one singular ban list is just simpler. Splintering them off will always... I think it's almost inevitable that somebody would go to an event and misconstrue like, oh, well, like instead of like they sit down against an opponent and they're playing this card, say Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, because it's only banned in FI, and they're playing it in Ira or Benji or whatever, and they're like, what? That card's banned. And then they're like, no, it's only banned in FI. And it's like, that's just like, it just opens it up to a feel bad.
I feel like if it was a strictly like the opposite of Flesh and Blood, I feel if it was a strictly digital game, like an only digital game, you could definitely do that. And it'd be fine because the digital client will handle all of the deck building rules for you. So
true. Yeah.
There's no thing. But in a physical game where you're standing across from someone, like exactly like Bill said, you could lead to some weird. That's why I don't like functional errata either, and we can talk about errata soon.
Yes.
But it could lead to feel bads where someone's like, this card does something, and then the other guy's like, it actually doesn't do that. What it says, and then you're like, what do you mean it says it? Like, you can lead to some really bad situations. So also I want to say I one of the reasons that I'm kind of bummed about Mask of the Pouncing Lynx banning is that it was a good budget alternative to a very expensive legendary, and I feel that we need more of these in general, not less of them. So getting one banned is kind of a bummer. Because like it was literally that. Like what did a Mask of the Pouncing Link cost? Like $4 or something? Like probably
not much.
Like probably not much at all. So like now having Mask of Momentum as like the only viable choice, which is like $120, $140 card. It's kind of a bummer.
It feels significantly worse. But yeah, like I think if Fi wasn't nearly as effective as he is, I think Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is like a fine, maybe slightly scary option for ninjas. But I think with Fi, like just the existence of like specifically Salt the Wound and Lava Burst just makes it way too good. I just wanted to use it to get my second copy of Spring Tidings and draw 10 cards, but I'll let you do that anymore.
Just trying to do Benji things. Now Benji I don't know what you're gonna do with it. Same thing, but worse, I guess. Even worse.
Yeah, you'll just have to hope to draw into your second copy, which is
poor Benji.
Definitely guaranteed from all the games that I've played.
Yeah. Everyone knows that Blitz is a format where you go through your entire deck a couple times. You'll get it eventually, right?
Yeah, it's a nice slow format.
Come back round.
For the new players, that's a joke for the new players, just so you know.
Yeah. And then the next one that we can talk about, we can actually bundle these together. And it's something that I actually do genuinely appreciate from this sort of, like we were talking about in terms of being confused about multiple ban lists. Because as much as I say having multiple ban lists is confusing, Flesh and Blood does still technically have multiple ban lists for each of their formats.
Yeah.
And one of these things that I just genuinely, for the life of me, could not remember ever was, I think it was last BNR, maybe the one before, where Bloodsheath Skeleta and a Sonata Arcanix were banned in separate formats. So the issue was these two cards together were too efficient. So in Blitz, they suspended Sonata Arcanix, but then kept Bloodsheath Skeleta available. And then in CC, they banned Bloodsheath Skeleta, but Sonata Arcanix was still legal. And so it's like, okay, so I can never remember which one is banned, which one isn't, because, going between the two formats, it's like, I don't know. I just like tended to just be like, okay, well, whatever, they're both banned, I don't care. Just in my own head. But they fixed that up with this ban list, where now it matches for both formats, where Bloodsheath Skeleta is banned in both CC and Blitz, and Sonata Arcanix is legal in both CC and Blitz. And I appreciate that, because I don't know if I'm just dumb. I just don't have enough neurons to remember all of these different ban lists.
It's a lot to remember. I'm with you, man. Like, when I was thinking about building new decks, it's just like, I can't remember what's banned in what format. Like, I need to go look at the list. Like, yeah.
The other thing that makes me.
I was going to say, like, I know we haven't gone on to erratas yet, but they could just errata the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to be a Benji equipment specialization instead.
I would like that.
I
would take that.
Exactly. So Fi can't wear it. So if Fi is the issue, why this majestic equipment is being, and again, Bloodsheath Skeleta, another majestic equipment, which is just being panned because it's too good, and we need more of these things. There are multiple ban lists as well and stuff. So why can't we just use something like that?
Yeah.
But who knows?
I don't know. I do like the concept, like, in the future, because I don't think there are any currently of like specialized equipment.
I
think it's a good idea.
There's not any.
Yeah, there's technically there
are some that are kind of like Lexi has elemental bows that are no other Azalea can't use, so it's kind of like a Lexi one, but it's not really.
But I think it would be interesting to see, like, the closest one I can think of is the new Dawnblade from the classic battles, but that isn't even a Dorinthia thing. Like, it's not a Dorinthia specialization, but she does care about that specific Dawnblade. Resplendent, I think, is the name. So I think that would be interesting to see. I would like that design space, honestly. One of the things that does sort of gut me, just from a personal standpoint, for this ban and restriction thing, is I still had hope to play this cold foil Bloodsheath Skeleta that Cal sold me a little while ago. And now I just get to leave it in a binder. I'm still not like upset about owning it, because it's really cool.
You can play it in UPF, I guess.
Play it in UPF.
Yeah.
Well, you can. Yeah. PvE, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of UPF, there's one that is like kind of interesting. There is a note about UPF. I think that this was just it should have been understood, in my opinion.
It feels like more of a clarification than an actual ban, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the change is that Yorick, Weaver of Tales, is banned in official events.
Yeah.
And like, I
was like, I kind of thought he was anyway. I didn't see a single UPF event where he was allowed. So like,
yeah, because to me, he's the ultimate Rule Zero hero, where Rule Zero, again, with respect to Magic, because it's the only thing I can think of right now, is just like talking to your playgroup before a game to be like, hey, especially with UPF, where that's like, there is actually a Rule Zero in UPF. They don't refer to it as that, but it is functionally the same thing, where it's like, hey, we have this banned and restricted thing. If you want to play this, then cool. Like, but you just have to talk to your playgroup about it. It's what I did in one of our UPF games, where I was like, hey, I want to play 3 Phoenix Flames.
That's right. Yeah,
and I was allowed to do that because you guys agreed to it. And so that's to me.
Starvo, you can play Starvo as well.
And I got to play Starvo. If anything, I'm like the champion of Rule Zero in UPF.
Just does what he wants. Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that people know that if you ask politely and have a reason, then I don't know, people will say yes. But yeah, for Yorick, especially when Yorick was first revealed, and I saw all these non-flesh and blood people being like, I don't want random people at tournaments touching my cards. And it's like, the only time that you would play this card is if you were going into the game knowing that somebody was playing Yorick, and everyone has agreed. Like, that's the only situation.
Yeah.
I am building a Yorick deck to play at Worlds that is like specifically in opposition to that kind of person who's like, I don't want anyone touching my cards. You know what? I'm putting every Fable that I possibly can into my Yorick deck. Everyone can touch my Fable cards. I could play with them. I'm also
my gems whenever they like me.
I'm gonna put in as many like cold foil items as I can. I'm just gonna load it up.
Hell yeah.
I might put in some alpha E-strikes and first edition Command and Conquers. Like I'm gonna load it up.
If you need any cold foil items, this is my collection of extended art and cold foil items from Everfest. It is a playset of all of them.
Oh wow! I might have a one of all of them. I'll need to check. It's been a while since I've checked, but yeah, I'm gonna do that. It felt like that, and also what we're gonna talk about next, all felt like things that people already do or knew. And it's just kind of like putting an official stamp on them. Like, this is how it officially is. So there's not any, like, feel bads if someone maybe a little bit naively goes to a UPF tournament and they're like, I brought my Yorick deck.
I think it must have happened. Someone must have turned up and was just like, right, can I play with Yorick? And they were just like, no. Like there must have been a situation where I was like, can I play with Yorick?
Come on. No. You're either like incredibly naive or you're a troll if you're doing that. Like
yeah,
it's brilliant.
Like, I mean, it's like the absolute opposite of the D&D rule of cool, where it's like, yeah, if you can explain something cool and it like sounds interesting, then sure, I'll let you do it. This is the exact opposite, where it's like, can I play Yorick? And it's like, well, technically right now, but like nobody wants to.
It's an experience, right? Because not only does it, shuffle the decks together, but it makes it so that whatever deck that your opponent was playing with and crafted doesn't actually do that, because now they don't have a deck anymore, and it's just a big mishmash. So it's like it fundamentally changes how the game is played. So
yeah, it's like an overly chaotic version of Flesh and Blood in an already chaotic format that's supposed to be casual and fun, and it's like, I don't know. So yeah, to me that totally made sense. And I think it's just funny that they had to go out and say this. And same thing with the next one that Kel had briefly alluded to. They made everybody aware that their official stance on young heroes and old heroes is that Blitz is for young heroes only, and Classic Constructed is for old heroes only.
Who would have thought?
It's really funny. It had to be because of that Prism that ran hot at the New Zealand. It's the funniest part. So in case you didn't know, really quickly, there was a player who played Young Prism at the New Zealand National Championship, and I think they, at least the last time I heard, they were 7-2. I don't think they top 8'd, but they were 7-2 the last I heard.
Which is still an obscene record in CC with a 20 health hero.
And I think LSS, and this is immediately what I thought. I was like, that's hilarious. And also, if this was my game, I would be not happy about this. No, because it's like, that is not what should happen.
It makes it so much worse, too, because they had just recently, within the previous month, banned Prism for Living Legend. Yeah. So the adult hero, and they were like, okay, so her and Luminaris are gone, bye-bye, and people are like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think brilliant. The funniest part about this is it was at the New Zealand National Championship, and Flesh and Blood obviously is a game from New Zealand, so it just happened like in their front yard, and that's just
brilliant.
I like to imagine, I know this isn't how it happened, but I like to imagine that James White, in every single game where this Prism was playing, he was standing over the table just like looking concerned.
Oh God, yeah. You can imagine the lore as well, like, you can imagine the lore as well, just like little bookworm Prism just reading for a book, and like Reinhar's just getting pissed off and fucking chucking his toys up around.
I was like, I heard about this.
Bravo.
Ian was, friend of the podcast. Ian was telling, because he was at New Zealand Nationals, and he was telling us about it in a little like a chat. And I was like, how? And it's like, yeah, everyone thinks it's just going to be an easy kill, and they go all out to try to kill her, and then she just blocks everything and makes a bunch of auras. And by the time they realize,
so much value.
By the time they realize they've messed up, there's too many auras with Spectra, and they can't do anything about it.
No, exactly. Oh god.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's just so funny.
I think it also speaks to how powerful like the Spectra auras are. They're pretty good.
I think that like the change that they made for allies, like the difference in my mind between Spectra and the way that the allies with Phantasm work is like night and day. And the way that allies function is like the intended thing. Like I know that they did design Spectra in this way, where it's like if it breaks, it completely blows up, and then everything just goes away. But like losing your action point feels so bad.
Yeah, it does.
But losing the action point, you don't get any on-hit effects. It's like the exact opposite, like you said, for the allies, because you'll get free attacks, you get your action points, you get all your on-hit effects, so you can like snatch them and draw cards and all that kind of good stuff. And Spectra's just like, nah, you're done. You killed my one aura, you're done. My turn now.
I have very many times gotten people by attacking their Ashwing with Herald of Erudition and getting to draw 2 cards for free.
That's pretty good.
It's a lot of fun.
So it's like Pursuit of Knowledge as well. Pursuit of Knowledge into an Ashwing is like drawing 5 cards 100% of the time. It's just a lovely old job, really.
It's nice.
I forgot to mention. I'm not sure whether we mentioned this or not, but part of the BNR as well. We completely skipped over CC. We didn't mention.
I was gonna bring that one up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I trust you. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, Pulse of Eisenloff was banned as well. So so I think that was that. What was that even doing? It was just giving Oakenolds easy access to Oakenolds, and it was a legendary card as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that's like literally it. I'm looking through the thing, and there's a quote: "Oldham's highest output offensive turns often involve Pulse of Eisenloft powering up Oakenold."
Okay. Yeah.
And then also using it for his ability.
I think it was to just help curb the percentage a little bit, because they could use it multiple times. So a lot of Oldhams would just keep it in their hand and use it multiple times to get these double fuses. And honestly,
is it ever actually used for the effect of the actual? What does it do?
Like, it's a defense reaction. You could use it for a defense reaction, but a lot of the times it's like secondary to its fusion effects.
It's just like a panic button.
Yeah.
So like from what at first when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, I guess. But I thought about it more, and it makes a lot of sense for the intent. Like, they don't want to like nerf Oldham to the ground. They just want to curb off like a little bit of his consistency. And that's kind of what this card does, after listening to like pro players like Tarek Patel talk about it. That it like curves off a little bit of the Oldham's consistency while simultaneously not hurting any other hero. Because literally only Oldham can use this card. Because it's an Ice Earth card, so he's the only hero that could play it, other than Starvo, which obviously is Living Legend. So it doesn't hurt like Briar, like a Crown of Seeds ban could, and it doesn't hurt anyone else. So I like the ban. I think it's a very like well thought out ban, in my opinion. I never would have picked it, but maybe that's because like I don't have that intimate game designer knowledge that they do. So I don't know. I kind of like it. The more I think about it, I really like the ban. It's also like not a super expensive card, so no one's like losing out unless you overpaid for a cold foil version or something. Like you're not really. I mean,
you kind of run that risk every time you buy a cold foil card. Yeah, I don't know. Like they usually keep cold foil cards as the good ones. There are some exceptions, like there's the cold foil Marvel Ashwing from Uprising. There's all of the items from Everfest. Like those were like fun ones.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like,
But even those, like, they're not expensive cards. Even the cold foils of the items are like, I don't know, maybe 75 cents, to be honest. like some of them are more expensive because they're playable, at like as playable as they can possibly be. But
hey,
yeah,
healing potion is very lovely looking. Also, the potion of deja vu is also very lovely looking. They're very pretty cards.
Potion of Deja Vu is like just a fine card in Kano, but Kano doesn't exist anymore. So
Kano, get out of here! It's awesome in Volda because you can generate a bunch of seismic surge tokens. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
The next thing that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to touch on this just like kind of briefly because there's a lot of content in this update as well. But they also released alongside the BNR an errata bulletin that they were doing some, functional and non-functional errata to make sure that cards were working as intended. The main points of it are that Rune Chant and Quicken now trigger basically at all times, which is nice because there was a lot of confusion based solely around, like, if you attacked something with Spectra, if you attacked it with an attack action, then your Rune Chants went off. But if you attacked it with a weapon, then your Rune Chants did not go off because they wouldn't trigger because your weapon attack wasn't technically an attack on the chain at the time that you target the thing. Like, there's so many words to go into this ruling.
Once again, Spectra may be a little bit of a busted mechanic.
Yeah, like, and in this case, it's not even busted in that it's too strong. It's busted in that the rules just have to bend to make them work properly.
Yeah.
Just feels kind of bad. So that one is just like an ease of use thing. I like that. That's
what
fine.
I like about that change, and almost I think this is true for all of the errata that we're going to talk about, is that everything functions the way that everyone thought it did or feels like it should have. And I think that's what I really love about these. None of these are for balance reasons. Like, I don't think any errata here is because a card was busted or like actually like too good or too powerful, I should say. It's to change things to work within the rules in a way that everyone already assumed they worked that way. If that makes sense.
Like, when we were chatting about these earlier, like, a lot of them just feel intuitive. Like, these are how I anticipated them to be as they were. And now they're just, they're making them work as written, or I guess not as written because they're changing how they're written, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, because like the one we just talked about, the Rune Chant and Quicken activation thing, like, that's how a lot of like new players and even like established players just assumed how it worked, but it didn't actually because of Spectra being kind of BS. And so, like, I really like erratas like this. We can talk. I'll talk more about my overall thoughts about erratas as we go, but just wanted to throw out here. I generally really like these.
Yeah. Well, one of the ones. I don't know if we should go into every single one of these because a lot of them are just literally how we thought they were anyway. But one that was really interesting, one that was part of your video recently, Kel, was the putting a card on the bottom of its owner's deck.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So and even the text on the actual page says, we found that effects that specify that they return to your deck may cause issues with future design spaces.
Yes.
So if someone was to gain control of one of your attack actions and then they were to put it on the bottom of their deck, it would go into their deck with this previous errata. So is there a design space for that? People stealing your cards potentially.
Yeah. So I immediately thought about like a thief or a rogue class, but I think like a mind reader could also work similarly. That they steal your thoughts or something like that. Some people commented like, oh, people can already steal your stuff with like Kyloria, but I was like, that's true, but a lot of the cards referenced here are like attack action cards or action cards that aren't items like that. So I think it really does. It's most of it's probably just future proofing, right? But I also tinfoil hat copium really want there to be some sort of like thief coming like in Dynasty or something, like an assassin thief.
It would be awesome because, like, you know, there's like cards like we've mentioned Magic a lot, but there's like a card called like Ray of Command, or, you know, in Magic where you temporarily steal someone else's creature.
That's an old one, I think. Yeah,
it's a very old one. Or I think it's I think the ones that I'm thinking about in Magic are like
active treason or whatever.
Active treason, that's it, the red one, where you gain control of a creature, it gains haste. Similar to that, where if your opponent plays an attack action card, in response you can be like, right, yeah, I'm going to nick that and attack you back with it instead, or gain control of it or banish it face down. You get to gain control of it next turn or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I reckon there could be a good space for that, because psychologically you're then getting into a battle where your attack might not even resolve and your opponent may steal it from you. Yeah. I think that's great.
And the errata
defensive as well.
Yeah. The errata specifically is to prevent players from shuffling cards that they don't own into their own deck. Is basically what the errata is doing.
Yeah, which again just makes sense. Like that's a totally reasonable thing to do. But I think I'm sort of on Kel's tinfoil hat side here, where it's like, obviously it's on their mind for them to just make this change out of nowhere. And for them to specifically say we're future proofing things, like it is totally possible that they are just like, oh, I noticed this thing, let's change it, whatever. But to me it feels more likely that as game designers they were like, oh, we're gonna do this thing where you can like counter your opponent's card and then steal it and you can play it whenever you want. And it's like, okay, well, what happens if we do that to cognition nodes? And people are like, what?
Exactly.
What do you mean? Cognition nodes specifically as well.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that's on the list too.
It's the very first one. I mean, it gives an attack action card that effect, but yeah, it's like if you steal somebody's attack and it's like, okay, what if they cognition nodes it? And you know, James White is just sitting there at LSS HQ and he's like, shut it down. We need to change this now.
I mean, it does kind of feel like the Stubby Hammer situation, right? Stubby Hammer got banned and everyone's like, what? Why? No one's playing this thing. And then Phi comes out and everyone's like, oh, yeah, that could have been.
That's why.
And then it got banned in other formats too.
I absolutely loved when we got our preview card. And it was just Flameborn Retribution, which isn't even a card that I think people know what it does off the top of their head these days. But it was the fact that we got that plus a Phoenix Flame. And I was like, this is why Stubby Hammerers got banned. And I knew it like the day of. I was like, yes. I have insider information that will be insider information for all of 2.5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, hey, that's one of the great parts about getting a spoiler card. Like, you're like, whoa, you see it. You're like, whoa, I know this. No one else knows this, but I know this. When I got the craziest one I got, not in terms of power level, but just in terms of me personally being like, what the is going on, is when they sent me Mutated Mass for Monarch. This is before we had talents at all. Like, there were no talents before this.
I guess so.
There was no announcement of talents, nothing. I had not seen any of it. And it's a shadow action. I'm like, what the hell is a shadow action? Like, they didn't tell me anything about it. And they're like, it has Blood Debt. I'm like, what the hell is Blood Debt? Because it doesn't say it on the card. Like, it doesn't have reminder text on...
That's funny.
Yeah, and so if you watch my preview video, I'm like, I don't know what Blood Debt does. Maybe there's like a banish synergy or something. Yeah, so...
Technically correct.
Yeah,
bang on.
That's one of my favorite parts about, like, at least personally, but like spoiler season. Other than seeing everyone's cool videos, I'm just like, whoa, what the hell does this thing do?
Yeah. As soon as you put out, you're just like, wow, I just know something that nobody else does right now. I'm just going to revel in this moment for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really exciting thing. That's something that I've done with both of our preview cards, is just like sit and think about the repercussions of the card that we have the ability to preview. And actually, speaking of previews and spoiler cards and everything, we have seen the very first Dynasty preview card from none other than the Tall Timmy.
Have indeed,
a great content creator, an absolutely just like unbelievably positive presence in the community. Also, from what I've heard, extremely tall.
He is. I got to meet him at was it Pro Tour 1? He is quite tall, right? Like yeah. I'm not like super tall, but I'm not short either. I'm like 5'11" ish. He is quite a bit taller, like a couple heads taller. So
yeah. So yes. Aptly named. Good on you for picking a name that really describes you. Anyway, so we got to see I guess technically the second Relic of War. We saw the first one with the crown.
Yeah.
I don't remember the full name of it.
Oh, is it? It's not Crown of Providence. Is that?
Dominion.
Dominion.
Crown. Yeah. So we technically saw that one. We haven't seen it in person though. We haven't even seen like an actual physical copy of the card. I think we've only seen it online. So this is the first physical copy of a Relic of War that we've seen, and it looks gorgeous.
That's awesome.
I love the frame that they did here. The colors, like something about it just feels so like official, so like a relic, like something that would be displayed in a king's hall.
I really love, this is a very small thing, but I really love it, like design wise. I love how the backdrop for the text box and the nameplate is black, and then the wording is kind of like this tan-ish. It makes it really sleek, and it makes it pop really well, and almost exactly like Bill was saying, it actually kind of looks like a plaque that you would see at like a museum, right? Where it has like whatever the item is, and then like a description of it. That's what it reminds me of. It looks super clean. So really like that.
As well as this as well, the sort of black and gold border and the sort of presentation of it. What does it remind you of? Anything that come to mind?
Well, for me specifically, it reminds me of has nothing to do with anything. I'll
tell you what I'm thinking in a minute, but yeah.
It reminds me of this ancient Egyptian exhibit that was at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, OMSI. They had a King Tut exhibit like a year or two ago, right before COVID, that Robin and I went to. And I love ancient history. Specifically, I love like Egyptian ancient history as well. And it kind of gives me this vibe because there's a lot of like golds and blacks and a lot of that motif, especially golds. But it's like a lot of like darker colors accented by golds. And if you've seen the Red Zone Rogue card back that I made, you'll know that I really like that motif, like black highlighted by gold, and it kind of reminds me of
color
that
combo.
Yeah, it's like what do they call it? Like is it noir, neo noir, or something? Or the art style?
I know Art Deco does a lot of
Deco. That's it.
Like gold highlights.
Like 1950s gangster style, like Streets of New Capenna, Magic reference again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're just a Magic podcast now.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was getting at was the black and gold looks like the Crucible of War boxes. Remember them?
Yes,
it does.
Yes, I actually think I mentioned that in my video where I talked about it, like the Dynasty spoiler thing. I think I mentioned it looks like the Crucible War splash art, like the It totally does. It totally does. Because it has like it even has like the molten kind of vibe on it. Like I can see a crew box from where I'm sitting here, and it.
So
it definitely does. It's a good call.
It's interesting because it does kind of look like like Crucible of War when you're talking about like smithing and smelting. Crucible is where you would melt all of your metal and then you'd pour it into a mold, and it does look like like molten metal going through channels to be something. Yeah. And I was actually going to say it reminds me of the ancient Japanese. I don't know if it's like a custom or just a design style of kintsugi, which is where you have like a thing that's broken. And you fix it by like attaching the pieces together with gold, so you can see that it has been broken, and then repaired with gold. So it's actually like highlighting its defects and making it more like you're saying like this thing is together again. It was broken, but there's the beauty in that. That it's it's one of a kind. It's unique.
This looks awesome. I did not know about this. I literally just looked
Kintsugi is awesome. It's great.
I just looked up Kintsugi. If you just Google it, and go to image search, there'll just be a bunch of pottery. Like, it looks rad, dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's
it's a nice meaning behind it. Yeah, it's a nice meaning behind it as well. It's like, I was broken before, but I'm back where I am now, and those scars make me who I am now.
I'll say arguably cooler looking. Like
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks so much better now. Yeah.
It's the sort of thing that you could do to anything. Like you could be like, oh man, I broke this bowl that I bought at IKEA, and it's like, well, I put it back together, and you can see all of its things, and it's like, okay, but now it has meaning. Now it's cool.
Now it's cool. Yeah, I just laced it with the gold that I've got lying around in my forge next door. Absolute massive tangent.
Yeah, so that's about the aesthetics of the card. Now, what does the card actually do? We haven't even talked about that yet. So to go over it, it is called Merciless Battle Axe, and it is a warrior weapon. It's two-handed axe. So the first two-handed axe that we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
It has 3 attack, once per turn action, 3 resources to attack.
It's a lot.
Just on its face there, it's like not the best. The best rate. It's like a Titan's Fist.
It's like
which
worse because it doesn't get the +1.
Yeah. Also, it's two-handed, so you don't get like a shield or a second one or whatever.
It's like a bad romping club at face value.
Yes, but it does have more words on the card. Whenever Merciless Battle Axe attacks, if its attack is greater than twice its base attack, the attack gains Overpower. Which Overpower is, this can't be defended by more than one action card. Yeah. So something that we've said just sort of in passing while we were discussing this card is that Overpower, and a lot of people are sort of, making the comparison, because it is a real comparison between Overpower and Dominate, and how they're saying Overpower is just a worse Dominate. While I do agree with that just at face value, I think that Overpower is worse than Dominate. I think that Overpower is a more flexible version, and the fact that it's toned down means that it can be on a card like this. We don't have any weapons that gain Dominate inherently, I don't think. I think everything needs an additional thing to have Dominate. So this is the first weapon that we've seen that has a Dominate adjacent effect even.
Or almost...
And it's...
any form of evasion, by the way. I think it's one of the only pieces of weaponry that has evasion on it.
Yeah, and it's repeatable. Yeah. And repeatable effects are actually quite scary in this game, especially ones that start on the field, in the arena from turn 0. So would it be better if this card had Dominate? Yes. But I think that that's too strong. I think that if this was just straight up, if it has more than twice its base power, it has Dominate, I think that card's too good.
I also think, Overpower isn't that much worse than Dominate, right? Basically what this is saying is, you can block with an action card and then any reactions that you got or equipment. With Dominate, you could block with the equipment anyway, but this is basically saying, hey, that defense reaction doesn't have to be in your arsenal. It can be in your hand, too. That's, the functional difference between this and Dominate, because Dominate basically just means you can only block with one card from hand, but then you can also block with a reaction from arsenal if you have it. This is hey, you can also block from a reaction from hand if you have it too. Which it's worse, but it's not crazy worse. It's not that much worse.
It's not miles worse. It's actually comparable.
Yeah, especially if you're playing someone who doesn't run defense reactions like Fi or Ninja or something. If they don't run any defense reactions, this is basically Dominate, because they're not going to have those high value defensive cards, are they?
So again, if you're looking at it just purely word for word, this card, the first time you read it, the first time I read it even, I'll admit, I looked at it and I said, I'm not super enthused about this card, but even just now talking about it with you guys, this card actually seems like it slaps a little bit.
I want to go one step further, not to talk about the power level, but I think this card is incredibly well designed because of its base attack and its ability, its core ability. Because, think about it. If they made it like a 5-attack weapon or a 4-attack weapon, doubling that would be a lot harder than just doubling 3. And so having it at a base attack of 3, which on just as it's by itself, you're okay, that's not very strong. 3 attack, you can just block with a single thing. But when you look at it from the bigger picture, doubling 3 is so much easier, and it makes the card, in my opinion, a lot more playable than it would be otherwise. If it was a base attack 4, I think it'd be very hard to double 4. There's very few attacks that give you +4 to a weapon, but there's a lot that give you +3 to a weapon. So
I
love the design space.
Most of the non-attack actions for warrior, a lot of them are, you know, the ones from Everfest, those ones sort of tended towards one-handed weapon attacks, sword or dagger or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the previous ones are just straight up your next weapon attack gains, whatever.
Yep.
And a lot of these cards are already really efficient cards. Like that's sort of what Warrior prides itself on, is these non-attack actions that, you know, not only block for 3. I think that that's the crazy thing, again, because most non-attack actions only block for 2. But that, you know, there are all of these different options that you have to, you know, now we have another target for Spill Blood to give it also dominate, which is really funny to me.
Well, yeah, so Spill Blood only gives it a +2 though, right?
It only gives it a +2, but a lot of these you're not playing exclusively on their own.
Right.
And you get, like, I'm just looking at the non-attack actions. I'm not even looking at the attack reactions, which is another scary thing.
The one that I think of straight away is Sharpened Steel, 0 cost warrior attack action that gives you +3. So in order to get that line, you'd play the Sharpened Steel, then you'd pitch a blue to swing in with the 6 with Overpower. That's the line that costs 2 cards because you swing with your weapon. Then you still got a card in hand, and then something else to maybe push over the top even further.
And that's 6 with Overpower. I love that.
I will say, just as a point of order, it is the same wording as Helm of Sharp Eye. It is greater than twice its base power, so it would have to be 7. Because if you look at twice its base power, it has to be greater than that. So
you are right.
It is still like, it isn't just a single +3, but again, I think that would be too easy for warriors to achieve anyway.
Greater than twice.
Yeah, but even then, attacking in for 7 isn't difficult for warriors. It's like pretty standard. The issue will, of course, be the fact that, you know, I'm thinking in terms of Dawnblade. I'm thinking in terms of Hatchet of Body and Mind, or the Centauri Sabers, where they only cost 1 to attack, sometimes 0, based on what what deck you're playing. But with this, it does cost 3, which is obviously a significant upgrade.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, if you're looking at the other decks, they are consistently, I would say, closer to a go wide than a go tall strategy. And I'm just piecing this together right now. But the fact that Tall Timmy revealed this card, which allows warriors to go tall.
I got it. Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. I just now that I realize, thanks to Bill, that it's greater than twice, it's less good as I was piecing together, but I still think it's really good.
Same.
Because of the fact that it's repeatable evasion. You can do it if you can set it up, you can do it every single turn. And I'll be honest, like when I first saw Starvo, I was like, you can't Starvo every turn. Turns out you could probably like Starvo every single turn. So if you can Starvo every turn, you might be able to Battle Axe every single turn. And if you're doing like 7 Overpower every turn, you're gonna leak damage. Like it's gonna be hard for your opponent to block it all out. So this feels like inevitability, and I'm into it. I think it's a lot harder to do than I thought, but it's still interesting.
Something else that I've just noticed, and I don't want to like say that I think that this card is getting worse as I'm reading it. I still do think that it's at the very bare minimum an interesting card to play around and to build around, but it is also, whenever it attacks, if its attack is greater than base its twice thing, the attack gains Overpower. So even when I was saying, I haven't even looked at the attack reactions.
Yeah, reactions don't
work.
It's
too late there. So that is definitely also something to keep in mind.
So what this means is there's going to be some big upfront warrior actions in Dynasty then.
Yeah.
There's going to be some go tall warrior stuff.
Or you just +3/+3 attack for 9 with Overpower.
I mean, even outside of that use case, like obviously that is the use case that you want, But even just with the effective weapon attack buffs that Warrior has access to, like even if you're only attacking in for 6, you're attacking in for 6.
I mean, yeah,
That's
like,
right.
and that's the off turn where you're just like, oh, I only have one thing and I'm attacking with this. It's like that's still 6, and then you also have your reactions. Like,
I really want to play this in. Yeah, I really want to play this in like UPF or something. The other problem I'm thinking of is what current hero. No current hero really works well with this, right? Like,
No.
Kasai, this is like nothing. This does nothing for Kasai. For Dorinthia, I also think it does nothing because she only triggers on swords, right? Or is it on
only swords?
We'll look that up.
Flesh
And
blood
then
Goarin.
I guess it could work with Bolton, but it's just like not as good as the other things Bolton could do.
It is just weapon attack hits.
So okay,
but also having to pay 6 resources to attack with it twice is kind of a big ask.
You'd have to do that, and then also somehow give it go again. So you'd have to do a bunch.
You're looking at like a 16 resource turn.
So I don't know, but still, I think it's interesting.
Yeah. And like this is another.
I guess I just realized this. I guess the Emperor could use it. The Emperor could use. You'd have to pitch 3 red cards because he could only run red cards.
Yeah, that's good. It's all right.
Yeah. Attack for 3.
3 for 3.
But,
nice.
Yeah, the other thing that I find a lot of players just in general sort of fall into the trap of, this is just like a personal thing that I notice. I don't know if this is a hill that I really should die on, but like we're looking at this card and we're evaluating it based on the cards that we already have.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, based on the heroes that we have, based on the, the actions and whatever that we currently have, this card is, either underwhelming or just okay or whatever. But there's a whole set of cards coming out. There could be like, one of you guys was saying, oh yeah, there might be something that buffs for 4. There might be. Yeah. Or there could be like a piece of equipment that's just like your first weapon attack each turn gets +1. Then you only needed +3, and then it's 7. Like,
I was kind of leading into wanting a new warrior. That's kind of where I was going with my line of thought.
Yeah,
so I was like,
that too.
Hey, the new ones don't really. This is me like mentally justifying a new warrior in the set. And then that's also why I brought up the Emperor, because I was like, hey, there's a new warrior in the set, but it would suck with him. So maybe we get a better warrior for this. Yeah. Like the Trojan looking dude on Spill Blood. Maybe we'll get that guy.
That would be a good one. But yeah, like I don't know. I think it's way too early to make a determination on how good this card is.
I think
because there's a lot that's going into this next set. Like there's a lot.
I think Stubby Hammer is the precedence for this, where everyone saw it and they're like, yeah, whatever, it kind of sucks, and then no one used it because it came out in Monarch and no one used it until like now, and everyone's like, holy boosh, this card's like busted, and then it all of a sudden gets banned everywhere.
It's like what you were saying earlier about Icelander. Like everyone saw Icelander come out and was like, "Oh well, she can't do Kano stuff." Well, we haven't seen half the ice cards yet. That's why. So it's hard to make an assumption on how good it's going to be without seeing the set that it's in.
Right.
It's really easy to make determinations like that. I think it's a lot harder to sort of pull yourself back and try to, I don't know, piece together what else could exist within the next stuff. Whether or not there is going to be something that makes this like busted is kind of, for me, not the point. Yeah. It's just like if I immediately write it off, then when the set comes out, I probably won't be thinking about it. But if I keep it in mind, then, you can still piece things together, especially while spoiler season is happening. And to me, that it just feels a lot more organic, where you're trying to follow the thread that the designers at LSS have left, where it's like, we thought about this, so we made this whole package, and you can sort of see it as a whole instead of just, this card is weird, this card sucks, whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean,
feels
like
a lot less reductive.
Yeah, I mean, like even by itself, I think the card is interesting, and I think it has a really cool and maybe good ceiling. Yeah, because like I mean, it's like Bill said earlier, it starts on the field. It's a repeatable effect. Like having repeatable evasion is something that we've never really had in Flesh and Blood, and except for maybe like, unless you want to count like the Dread Scythe dealing 1 arcane damage or something. But like, no, I think this is a cool card. I really like it.
Yeah, it's just a nice way to finish off a game, especially against, as we said earlier, someone who doesn't run the defense reactions. If they can only block with 1 action card, they're in the shit late game. Sorry.
Yeah.
And if you, I know, it's all good. And if the deck is like built to go super tall and it can consistently do that, you're like, 9 or 7 or 9, every single turn, like that's
like that gets games done very fast. Like that's pretty scary. So yeah, I think that the like Kel said, I think the ceiling on this is potentially pretty good. It depends on the support, but I think that they wouldn't just plop this into a set, and especially for, because I do think that LSS does like leave sort of crumbs for future sets in their current design.
For sure.
But with this just being a warrior weapon and it just being an axe and introducing a new mechanic, I don't think that they would do that and be like, oh, keep an eye out in the next 3 years when we reveal a warrior that actually can use this. I think that this is going to be it's going to tie into the rest of the support that warriors are going to see. Yeah. And it's potentially very scary, and I kind of like it.
I think it's cool.
Going to be fun.
I'm trying to see if Flake has posted his thing yet. No! Okay, there is an update. Sorry, friends. Real life got in the way today as I'm dealing with some personal stuff. Don't worry about it, man. The spoilers will be out tomorrow. Both of them.
Spoilers.
Oh, okay. Well, so when you're listening to this, we would already know what it is. But
so I think so. I'm going to kind of talk about the spoilers in general. And this kind of leads into what Az is probably going to be getting. I feel that these are going to be what do they call them? The Marvel cards, but they're the
relics.
Relics of War. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I think these early ones are going to be Relics of War, because Flake is supposedly getting 2 cards. Well, Timmy got 2 cards, and they were just like, the axe and then the Marvel version of the axe. I have a feeling that all of these folks kind of getting these early, that's what they're going to be. And I saw that some other people are getting them as well. Was it the card guys and someone else? I can't remember who else. But then obviously we have our good buddy and your friend and mine, Az, is getting one at some point. At some point, if it can.
So yeah, exactly. So this point in time, obviously recording this on Saturday evening. That's the time frame of which we're speaking from, but you're obviously hearing this on the Wednesday. The card or the package that I'm getting is currently still in China. I can double check right now, but it's on its way apparently right now. So we'll see when it gets here. But I don't know what I'm going to be doing for it yet. But as soon as it arrives, I can release it whenever I want. Basically, if Tall Timmy's thing was anything to go by, I can just do it whenever I feel like it. So we'll see what happens with it. I can't wait for it though. But yeah, you think it's going to be a weapon, do you? Is that what you think?
It's going to be we don't know,
or an equipment.
We don't. Yeah, I think it's going to be a weapon or equipment for sure. We don't know if they're all weapons yet. But no. I have a feeling they're all going to be Relics of War, and I have a feeling obviously yours is going to be Ranger themed. So I think, I don't know. The easy take is that you get another bow. I hope it's something different. I hope you get something like super unique, like a quiver or like a weapon that's not a bow or just something.
A quiver would be so cool. Please.
But at the very least, I'm thinking you're going to be getting some cold foil Marvel Ranger goodness.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking shenanigans. I think it's gonna be sick.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I've been on the receiving end of a majority of the bows, I think. So I'm hoping you get something crazy, because every time I see it, I'm like, oh sweet, it's a new bow. I saw Dreadborn. I'm like, oh, this is so good. Like I think it's gonna be really good, and then it's like, it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah.
I want
It's a really cool looking bow.
It is. It looks like you get tetanus just by touching it.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping Az is like he gets like I don't know, man, something cool.
Something cool, yeah.
A throwing dagger that you can block with.
I mean, to be fair, LSS could give me a bloody trap card, and I would be loving life. To be honest,
that would be hilarious.
I
would love it if I got a trap card.
I mean, wouldn't it be sweet if you got? This is like just asking for everything. You got a bow, very powerful bow, that also could load traps as well as arrows. So it lets you put arrows into your arsenal, but it also lets you put traps into your arsenal at instant speed. Yeah. It has to be at instant speed, otherwise traps are still garbage. Because
that's right.
The reason traps are garbage, other than their effects being like bad, they're like bad frostbite. It's because you draw up at the end of your hand. At the end of your turn, you draw up, and then you can't even block with them on your opponent's turn. They're literally useless while your opponent's punching you in the face, and then you have to spend your whole turn either pitching them or saving it to arsenal to then use on your next turn. So that's why traps suck.
And then if they don't trigger it, then you can't attack them.
Yeah, if they do nothing, if they just pass, then you have a freaking trap in your arsenal that does nothing. And then it makes it so you can't shoot your bow. So
feel bad, isn't it?
Traps are like so bad. I'm sorry for whoever designed them.
I do think that at some point they're going to do something with traps that's going to be super sick. But I think it will be like they'll have to redesign how the mechanic works.
I can think of so many cool designs for traps that are not what they are now. Like just being able to play them from hand, but maybe only getting the effect if they're in the arsenal. You could have traps as like units on the board, kind of like how Dromai has Aether Ashwings. They can have like physical traps that do things. Like maybe your opponent has to attack the trap before they attack you. I don't know. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do, but
yeah. And I'll shout out the Azalea Cult episode 3, where loads of people went to immeasurable lengths to design cards that would make stuff like that work as well. So if you're into sort of Ranger speculation, then go and check out that video series, because at the end of each one, normally there's a designer card competition for whatever we're speaking about at the time. So yeah, lots of ideas for LSS. If you're listening to this video, go and have a look at those. There's loads of ideas you could
I think
prey upon.
I think they're not allowed. I don't know this for sure, but I know a lot of other card game companies are like this. They're not allowed to look at community stuff, because if they do end up making a card like that, they don't want to have to, be like, oh, we stole this card from a community member or something,
Steal whatever you want from me, by the way, just saying.
Hey, yeah, I mean, like, me too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
all we want to do is see Azalea thrive.
I'm like even the opposite, man. I'm like, hey, if you want to take any ideas, go for it. Or hey, if you want, I don't know, if you want to use any of my characters and your cards or something.
True.
They were drawn by Flesh and Blood artists, or already got the art. I don't know.
Exactly.
Could happen.
I'm joking, but I'm also not joking.
Take all of my intellectual property. Yes, take it.
Anyway, I think what I'm gonna try to do here is reel us back in so that we can start to wrap things up and potentially have an Arsenal step.
Yes. Let's do that.
I do have a small thing that I could bring up, but if anybody else has something actually interesting, feel free.
Nah.
Well, we haven't had your Arsenal for a while, Bill. So,
okay.
True.
Okay, hang on. I just need to get a prop in order to show my Arsenal step. Okay. One moment.
All right. Well, while Bill's getting the prop, I just want to shout out 2 community events that are kind of going on right now. The first one is the Flesh and Blood Invitational, the Goliath Gauntlet that I'm participating in. It's something that has been planned for like months, but has been delayed due to national season and a pro tour and a bunch of stuff. I unfortunately got matched against one of my best Flesh and Blood friends, DM Armada, in round 1. That was random, and I was like, of course I got matched against DM Armada at round 1. We have played it. I'm not going to tell you the results. You will see the results on the 986 media channel or whatever. I can't remember the name of it. That channel. And I know Az is going to be participating in another community thing with the Clash format post Worlds. I think it's happening like after Worlds or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's during the off season where nothing's really happening. Just experimenting with the commons and rares and a couple of majestics. Ethan Van Sant did a video, so go and check it out for the rule set. It's a little bit different.
I made a deck for the format, and I kind of goldfished it on Talishar, and it's like, I don't know how busted it is based on the other decks, but it's pretty busted. So,
nice.
Viscerai,
was it?
It's Viscerai. I basically made what I really wanted to do in Commoner, but you can't. And you can do OTK Viscerai in this format, especially because you can use their specializations. So you can use the Become the Arknight and the Arknight Ascendancy. So you can go tutor for your Arknight Ascendancy and then clap them for like, I run Slogism. So you clap them for 11 Dominate plus like 20 Rune Chance, and then you get more Rune Chance on the back end, and then you crack your Sutcliffs. You crack your Sutcliffs to give it go again, and then you attack either with your weapon to send all of the extra Rune Chance that it just made in, or you can Arknight Ascendancy again if you have it in hand. I goldfished it and did like 40-something damage on like turn 5. So, and that's like not using my defense reactions to create Rune Chance, because there's a crap load of defense reactions. There's all the reduce the Rune Chance. There's all of the Sigil of Sufferings that ping them for 1 arcane. And then I'm also running Oasis Respite. It's like a ton. Basically, the entire deck is Rune Chant creators and defense reactions. So I just turtle up, make Rune Chants, and just block, and then just kill you with one hit. It seems good. So I don't know. We'll see. I also apparently Shiana's not banned in the format, so you can play Shiana and then literally every specialization, because specializations aren't banned either. So
that's it. I mean, that'd be cool. Exactly. Yeah, it's supposed to be like an accessible sort of mid-tier way to play the game, where you can still play your hero and your favorite heroes. Signature cards. Like I'm playing Azalea, so of course I'm going to have Red in the Ledger in there. Yeah. So that's amazing for me.
You could actually build the Memorial Ground Azalea, where you Red in the Ledger.
So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So Scoop or anyone who's part of the Clash sort of showcase, you're getting a bit of spicy deck tech here. But I'm basically going to be doing Dreadbore Azalea, because I think that in commons and rare formats, a lot of the defensive capability is going to be in the D-reacts.
I don't think you can use Dreadbore because it's majestic.
Yeah, you can still use majestic equipment.
I thought they changed that. You can't use majestic equipment anymore. You can only use specializations.
I think equipment's still allowed. I think,
because I do remember somebody.
Should check the rules.
I do remember when I was first looking at it.
I was looking at the tournament that's happening like tonight, and on DM Armada's Discord, and someone said the rules got changed.
Let's see. I pulled up the official rules on Fabrary.net.
Because also in my deck construction on Fabrary, it would not let me use Bloodsheath Skeleton, which would be even better. Hey, if I can use Bloodsheath Skeleton, my OTK deck's even better. So
I think majestic weapons were allowed.
Oh, okay, maybe weapons,
maybe not equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, if it says or if this is correct, which I think it is hero, weapons, mentors, and hero specializations may be any rarity.
Oh, okay,
so equipment and cards in deck can only be rares and commons.
So you can't use equipment, but you can use weapon majestics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so Luminaris is allowed, Dreadbore's allowed.
Okay.
So
that
was one of the things I noticed. I was like, technically, you can play Aggro Prism.
Actually, I was actually thinking about this. Wait a minute.
Aggro Prism.
Prism is going to be good because, wait, it's not a specialization. Never mind. I was going to say, is Herald of Erudition a specialization? I don't think it is.
It is not a specialization. No, it's not a specialization. But
get out of here.
It's like it's fine. I don't know. The card that I'm missing the most from it, I think, is literally just Fractal Replication, which does feel pretty bad. But most of the other cards that I play are just like rares and commons anyway. So I don't know.
Hey, if any of you guys want to play a little bit, I want to play with my my OTK Viscerai.
With actual cards, yeah.
I can do either.
Yeah. We'll sort it out. We'll have a couple. I need to test. I need to chuck my jank into some stuff before the actual thing happens as well. So
I I have the deck list built on February, so I can import it to Talishar if we want to play on that, if that's easier, or I can just play with my real cards.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll sort that off screen. But yeah, Clash is going to be fun. I think there's a lot of people that have said, "Oh, this seems like a fun way to play." So it's Van Sant and Ethan's come up with a fantastic idea, and I think he was talking about it with Team Covenant about this whole thing. And I've experimented with it in the past, just rares and commons on Go Again Gaming Open 3, which I played a whole day of, and loads of people did as well. But we didn't use the Majestics. So yeah, it's good that people feel like there is a sort of need to play in this sort of way rather than just hyper optimized stuff. You can only have certain things. But...
I think if you are the kind of player who wants to break a format, this is going to be a good one for you, because I think the format's very breakable.
That's the issue, isn't it? That's the thing. Because
you have access to a lot of incredibly powerful things. Because I think it uses the commoner ban list, right?
That's right, yeah.
Follows the commoner ban list plus Drone of Brutality and Duskblade.
Yeah.
So no Ball Lightning, no Belittle, no Duskblade, no Drone,
but
no...
I'm pretty sure you can run Chain with like Seeds and stuff. And Chain has a very good specialization.
Because Seeds is not banned in commoner.
You could technically play... You know what's a Chain specialization? Eclipse.
Yeah, so they can summon the demons. It's fine, apparently.
Yeah, so I mean, you could play Eclipse Chain.
See how that goes.
Like, there's a lot of
funny.
There's a lot of strong things you can do when I was looking at the format. So, yeah.
But hopefully they're fun and flavorful things rather than just degeneracy. But there will always be someone that rocks up and has just got this stupid deck. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's still just I think it's the format that I don't know. Like, I don't even want to say that like Blitz should be, because Blitz is its own thing, but a lot of people use Blitz as like an entryway into Flesh and Blood. It's like, this is the first thing that you should check out. This sort of feels like what the entry point should be. Because, if you're buying packs and you open, like the example here is for Bolton, like a Raiden Duskbane. It's like, okay, I want to play this card, but also I don't have any Majestic, or I don't have any legendary equipment because, like, I'm just buying packs.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I want to play in a format where I can actually like stand like toe to toe with people, and like it feels super bad where it's like, okay, well, if I wanted to play commoner, then I can't play my sweet Raiden Duskbane. But in this, like, you can, and that's sweet.
Yeah, I think on the surface, it gives you the opportunity to use like off the wall cards that might not be played anywhere else. But then there will always be people that are just going to look for the hyper optimized stuff, as there always is. But yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, for my short, pretty inconsequential Arsenal step, I recently bought a Rubik's Cube.
Oh, right.
I've just like never owned a Rubik's Cube before, and I was watching videos, and I was like, that actually like kind of looks cool. So basically, what was it, yesterday, maybe the day before, I just like sat down and learned how to solve it, and I can do the beginner method, which is very slow, but I can do that pretty consistently, and I'm trying to learn like slightly more advanced versions where it's like, oh, you have to like pair things up and then insert them into specific slots in the cube. And it's very like cerebral. It sounds like way more cerebral than it really is, because it's like you just look at it and then you have to remember which directions you have to turn it, and then all of a sudden it's done and you're like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah. But
whenever I picked one up, there was no sort of thinking behind it. I was just trying to get stuff, in different. I was trying to match one side, and then that you take that as a small victory. You're like, yes, I matched one side, but everything else is just absolute nonsense. You just, how would you do it? It's just crazy skills.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's like, it's got one side red, but everything else is a rainbow. Yeah.
I like how. Did you say you like got into it because you're watching like YouTube videos or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never like bought into stuff, but I've gone through phases where I'll like get into something on YouTube. Like, I think like a couple of years ago, there was this German guy who just solves puzzles. He loves puzzles.
Is it Mr. Puzzle?
Yes, this Mr. Puzzle. And I just watched.
He knows what it is.
I watched a ton of Mr. Puzzle. It's interesting. I don't know why. It's just this German guy who's like, I'm going to solve this puzzle today. I don't know why it was so fun to watch. Also, I got into watching Marshall Sutcliffe, who's mostly well known for doing Magic the Gathering coverage. He has a YouTube channel that's actually very popular, where he just restores watches. It's called
Wristwatch Revival,
which is like, it's funny to me watching it, because I don't know how I came across it, because I don't really watch Magic content anymore outside of a couple people, and it was just recommended to me, and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And I was like, wait a minute, is that Marshall? Like, I didn't even know it was Marshall. I'm like, this is Marshall Sutcliffe. What the hell? I used to listen to Limited Resources all the time. And I'm like, he's got way more subs than Limited Resources ever had on this wristwatch channel.
A lot.
Like, the last time I checked, it was like
600,000 or something. Like,
last time I checked, it was like 200,000. I would not be surprised. I'm like, he's just like, he just loves restoring watches. And it's just kind of like his hobby, and it's become like a big thing. And that's one of the things I honestly really love about YouTube, by the way, where like people just talking about whatever random thing, they're just super passionate
super
about.
Niche. Yeah, just pure niche and passion just gets you the traction, doesn't it? If you're passionate about something, it's just there's somewhere to find it on YouTube.
To correct it, he only has 462,000.
Only 500,000.
Only 462,000.
Only. And his videos are so cool, actually.
His videos, like,
my favorite thing that I noticed,
these views are crazy,
is after somebody was like, oh yeah, I watched this thing because Marshall Sutcliffe also likes watches. Watching his videos, you can see that one of the desk mats that he has is an actual Magic the Gathering. It's like an M12 desk mat. It has like Apocalypse Hydra on it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Nice.
Really funny.
The dude, like, I think I was recommended, like, it was like this ancient pocket watch or something like that, because I also like watching like weird ancient history things. We already talked about it in this episode. I like watching ancient history stuff. And yeah, like, now his videos have like millions of views. He's at a couple, I'm looking at it right now, he's got like over 5 million views a piece. And I'm like, wow. Like, every video he puts out has like over 200,000, which is like kind of crazy. Like, those are big numbers. Anyway, those are good numbers. Enough talking up wristwatch revival. Like, yeah, that's what your Rubik's Cube thing reminded me of. It reminded me of Mr. Puzzle, and then
Mr. Puzzle.
Yeah, I don't want to do a crappy German accent, because I know that we have a lot of German listeners out here, but yeah.
Oh, this has been a bit of a rabbit hole episode, isn't it? Really, just diving into all sorts of different things.
That's what happens when I host. I don't have a real docket, so we just talk about anything, and I'm like, let's keep talking about random stuff. We should probably wrap this one up. This one's going a little bit long, but if you are still hanging out with us, we do very much appreciate you, listeners at home. I guess we'll go and do the rounds just as a formality. Once again, I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF or on YouTube at the Spike Feeders FAB, Spike Feeders FAB, which does stand for Flesh and Blood. I know, it's crazy. We do live gameplay content. So if that interests you, then you should definitely come check us out. And if you want to subscribe, then there's a button for that, I think. How about you, Az, next in alphabetical order?
Nice, yeah. So I'm Az from Go Again Gaming, and you can find me on YouTube at Go Again Gaming. You can find me on Twitter at Go Again Gaming AZ, and I will probably be spoiling a preview card this week. So it might be after this video. So if you haven't watched it yet, then it might be after this, or it could be before this. We'll see. But yeah, go over there and check it out, because it's going to be good. I think I've got a good feeling about it. So yeah, should be this week, or we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure when I'm putting this video out. I want to put it out not on the Flesh and Blood anniversary day, because I'm going to do something else for that.
Mm-hmm. When is that then?
It's on
something we didn't mention.
It's on. Is it on? I think this will come out the normal day. So this will probably come out after, because I think it's on the 11th is the Flesh and Blood anniversary. The 12th, the 12th is the day after, which is Wednesday, which is when we normally do these. So if you're watching this, then I probably will have a video up already talking about the Flesh and Blood 3rd anniversary. I'm going to be doing a nice little giveaway. I'm going to give away some pretty nice things. Just a handful of generic Majestics that I think everyone could use. Like,
and that's over on Red Zone Rogue. Throw it over to you.
Yep. That's over on my channel.
YouTube.com/RedZoneRogue.
Yeah. Every year so far, I've done something special for the anniversary, and I just kind of want to talk about why Flesh and Blood is so awesome and give back to the community. And this year, I want to give something generically good for people. So it's going to be a handful of good Majestics like E-Strike and Total Fiendel and that kind of stuff. It's like a little thing of 7 cards. Anyway, so go check that out on Red Zone Rogue. And follow me on Twitter at Red Zone Rogue as well. And thank you so much for being here and listening to our absolute nonsense. It's always a blast. I genuinely really enjoy these. So thank you all.
And we hope that you at home do as well, because they're a lot of fun to make, and so I mean hopefully that translates to a good listening experience. But that will do it for us for this week. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay well, stay safe, and we will catch you all in the next episode.
See you later.
Bye bye.